Are you tired of trans voice tutorials that require either a linguistics degree or a sound engineering degree to even understand it? Do you want a trans voice tutorial that can be comprehended by literal 5-year-olds?
Well, here it is. Learn to change the voice from this
to this. How to trans voice the soft palate. Let's set sail. Random YouTuber dressed like a pirate. What is a soft palate? Alright, so you know how like there's the roof of your mouth, right? Well, that's your hard palate because it's, well, hard. But the soft palate is a little further in the mouth. It's the part where you can't feel bone anymore. It's, well, you know, soft. Think of the soft palate as a door that controls how much air goes into our nose versus our mouth. Allowing more air into our nose, generally speaking, will make us sound a bit more femme. But if we use too much... Ever heard a voice kind of like this? This would be hypernasality, as it's called, which just means it's too nasally. We need to hit that sweet spot between too nasally and not nasally enough, right in the middle. Have you heard Elmo's voice from Sesame Street? That kind of Elmo sound. Think of it like an exaggerated soft palate movement mixed with falsetto. So if you can already do an Elmo voice, you can actually jump into that, remove the falsetto, and you'll have roughly the ballpark of doing this technique. So you could go like, Elmo, Elmer, yeah, here, that kind of spot. So you'll get roughly in the position that you need to be.
Why does she fall asleep like this every time we make a video? Where does she even go?
Now let's try a different technique. You know that kind of NG sound at the end of words like sing, doing, like going, Do that, but imagine your tongue going a little bit higher, like almost touching the middle of your mouth, basically, with the middle of your tongue, that kind of sound. Right, after that sound, we're gonna pair it with a vowel like E. Think of this like opening the door to the soft palate, right? The sound is more like the key that prepares us to open the door, similar to how we broke into this house. So once we have that kind of sound, it's opening up and allowing more air into our nose and thus doing the technique. If you feel your tongue going up a little bit, that's perfectly fine. You're just kind of creating a smaller pathway for your air to go through and thus creating a smaller size, so to speak, and thus creating a more feminine sound, generally speaking. You know, like the tuba versus the trumpet kind of thing, right? Around your little dangly thing at the back of the mouth, you're gonna feel a little bit of movement. That's kind of, you're gonna feel something kind of go whoop, like that. That is the velar port, which is a thing that's attached to your soft palate. But all you need to know is this is the door. But we have a mystery to solve. Is our voice too nasally when we do this technique? Well, luckily for you, there's actually a really easy way to find out. Basically, when you get to the part, literally pinch your nose in the E part and see if the sound changes. It should sound exactly the same as it does when it's not pinched. For example, that was me pinching my nose repetitively, yet you couldn't hear any of the sound change. Also, when you speak full sentences, you should be able to block your nose and roughly sound about the same.
Now, if your voice is too nasally and you pinch your nose, it's gonna sound like this. If you wanna get rid of that, kind of imagine your voice's position inside your human body, going down a floor of an elevator. Literally imagine the position of the voice. This isn't your pitch, the position, I guess. This will trick you into avoiding that sound. I still have my nose pinched, but you generally can't hear it other than N's and M's. Let's try this technique of a bunch of vowels. Feel free to jump back to this part of the video when you're practicing. So this would be Before anyone asks, no, you don't have to replicate my accent when doing this technique or other techniques. Also, I'm not British. I don't know why I get comments asking if I'm British specific. I'm Australian, okay? G'day, upside down country, kangaroo, Freddo frogs, and handball on the court, okay? Please believe me, I am in fact from Australia. I know my accent's been Americanized to all heck. That's why these voice tutorials exist, okay? So you don't become like me. A lot of voice training is basically making a silly sound, slapping it in front of a sentence, then getting rid of the initial silly sound, and then bam, you have trans voice in a sentence. What this looks like is going like, apple, apple, It's just apple. We did an A, slap it on an apple, you know? Try going, apples. Apples are tasty. Like that, basically. And then you can check for nasality. So going, apples. Apples are tasty. It sounded about the same, right? But if you did a sentence like, oranges are epic, right? We would end up with, orange. Oranges are epic. You'll notice the N really nasally. That's because there's an N there. Words that have N's in it will just sound different by default. Just in case you go out and practice and think you're doing it wrong, no, just try to do sentences that don't have N's in it. When doing these sentences, think of your target as like a little nasally, but not too nasally. That exact point right before it becomes too nasally. That sweet spot is what we want to go for. Once you get the hang of doing that, you won't need the silly sound anymore. You can just do the sound on command and it'll sound pretty good. You just got to keep practicing. Ugh. What gives? Only I get injured in these tutorials. And pitch.
At least you found treasure.
Sorry guys, chest's empty.
But we used all that money bailing you out of Innova.
Oh. Good point. If you want to learn more trans voice via one-on-one lessons on Patreon, I offer those. Feel free to check those out. Slots can be a little hard to get. I'm really sorry about that. I'm just one person. I'm not a company, but I'll do my best to fulfill as many slots as I can without it impacting my health. I have a bad habit of doing too many lessons and then my health kind of deteriorates. My bad. I'm going to do my best to do as many lessons as I can healthily. So if that interests you, feel free to check out my Patreon. But there's also the free video tutorial series if you want guidance on pretty much everything trans voice. We're getting fairly close to having a video about every major topic. So once I complete those major topics, I'll probably cycle back and remake a bunch of stuff or just general tips or answer your questions, that kind of thing. All right. I hope sincerely that the voice tutorials have been able to help, as when I was starting the voice journey, I found the lack of resources kind of frustrating, and the resources that were there I found a little too verbose, right? Hence the format of these tutorials. So I hope these tutorials help you in your journey, and yeah. If you're doing voice training and it doesn't work straight away, that's unfortunately really common, right? Voice training is a very slow-moving process, so be kind to yourself during the process. When you see these little videos, you're watching people that like have done this for a couple of years. I've done voice exercises for trans voice for like nearly 5 years now. You know what I mean? So just bear in mind, it takes a while, but you got this. If you're also interested in other aspects of transition, I also do weekly videos about those. So feel free to subscribe, hit the bell, all that cliche YouTuber things so that I can keep doing this as a really blessed career. So thank you for watching this video. As always, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. I'll see you next week.